All right, let's try letter B. Go ahead, label your x's, x1, x2, and then y1, y2. So this is our first ordered pair, that's why these have 1s. It's our second ordered pair, that's why those are little 2s. All right, slope is rise over run. So my rise has to do with the y-axis, so I subtract the y's first, 5 minus 1. My run has to do with the x's, so I subtract -2 minus 6. 5 minus 1 is 4, -2 minus 6 is -8. Here we can simplify that to be 1/2 negative. And that's it. You're done. It's not too bad. Let's try letter C. I'm going to label x1, x2. Now you don't have to label every single one of them, but it's going to help you. If you get stuck and you kind of get them confused, it might be easy just to reference, oh, those are my x's, those are my y's. All right. Slope is equal to rise over run. Rise, I'm going to subtract the y value, 0 minus -9. Run, I'm going to subtract the x value, 0 minus 3. 0 minus the negative is really plus the positive, so I get 9. And 0 minus 3 is really -3. So my answer, my slope here, is -3. Nice job. All right, a teeny tiny bit more. Comparing slopes. We have 4 different kinds of slopes, and we've already seen 2, positives and negatives. But there's also 2 others known as, we'll see at the bottom, 0 and undefined. So we're going to draw these in together. The first one, I'd like you to draw a line, any line, going from left to right, going up. Okay, straight. It should be straight. So we have this line. This is an example of a positive slope. If you go from left to right and your line is going up, then it's a positive slope. Kind of like if you can draw a guy going up the hill, that's a positive. Okay? Then we have negative slope. So I want you to draw a line going down. And it doesn't matter how steep it is. It can be steep, it can be not steep. Could draw something going like this, not so steep, but it's still going down. The point is, from left to right, we're going downhill. So we have a guy, the little head, going downhill. That's going to be a negative slope. Okay? And before I go on, I want to just reference what we did on the first page. All this stuff on here. This was a line going up from left to right, and we had a positive slope. M equaled +2. This is a line going down from left to right. We have our guy. And here we have a negative slope, -1/3. So it matches out. When you solve it, your answers should be positive or negative, depending on what you have. All right, let's look down here. Positive slope on this, or I'm sorry, 0 slope is what this one's showing. So I want you to draw a line straight across, horizontally, please. Okay, this is a 0 slope, and the way you can kind of remember that is if you've ever been on a treadmill and you've gone to look at like the incline, and you want to raise it so you're like walking uphill a little. Well, there's sometimes some of them have a screen that might look like this. You have like the up arrow, and then in this little window that I showed, you can choose, do you want it to be like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4? Well, if you want it to be completely flat, if you want your treadmill to be completely flat, then you're going to keep it at 0. So that's what this is like. There's 0 incline. So a 0 slope means it's completely flat. We just have a guy who's walking, he's on his treadmill, okay, flat. Looks like he's on a jet ski, but completely flat, okay? So 0 slope straight across. Last one is an undefined slope, and an undefined slope is when you're going straight up and down. And I'm going to redraw it so it looks like it's actually on a line. There we go. Okay, straight up and down. So this is undefined for a couple reasons. One, there's no way, unless he has superhero powers, that any guy could like walk like we had in the other cases. He's just going to fall down, or maybe he has a nice parachute and he's stuck to that, so that's good. But there's no way you can walk, so undefined in that sense. Secondly, if we use the vertical line test, this is not a function because it's not passing the vertical line test. More than one point's being hit at the same time, so it's not defined there. It's not a function. And then if we choose points, we would find that it's undefined that way as well. So straight up and down is undefined. Okay? So let's see why. If I choose 2 points, I have 2 graphs drawn in here. This first one is straight across. What I'm going to do is choose 2 points. I'll choose this point here and this point here. This first point is 0, 2, and my second point is 3, 2. Now I'm going to go ahead and find the slope of these 2 points. Now I know it should be 0 because it's straight across treadmill, but let's just say I had the points, I just want to prove it. I'm going to subtract the y's, 2 minus 2. I'm going to divide that by subtracting the x's, 0 minus 3. 2 minus 2 is 0, 0 minus 3 is negative 3. My slope is 0. So it works out point-wise as well, because we're allowed 0 in the numerator. All right, let's try. I'm going to choose this point and this point. Again, it doesn't matter at all which you choose. I'm trying to pick a color that might show up well. This first point is 3, 3. And the second point is 3, 0. So I'm going to find the slope. I'm going to subtract y values first, 3 minus 0. In the denominator, I subtract the x's, 3 minus 3. 3 minus 0 is 3. See, 3 minus 3 is 0. We know that from Mean Girls, our little analogy, you can't divide by 0. It's undefined. So here's another way that we find out that we have an undefined slope had we forgotten. Okay? All right, let's practice example 4, these 4 last problems, and then you're set. Find the slope of the line through the given points. Tell whether the slope's positive, negative, 0, or undefined. So x, y, x, y. Now, if you look in higher books, those little numbers kind of, they'll say it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. If someone tells you that, you're absolutely right. But we're just focusing on remembering that we're subtracting the value, the y's on top in the numerator and the x's in the denominator. So subtract the y's. 3 minus 5 divided by subtracting the x's, 2 minus 4. I get negative 2 over negative 2, 1. So this is a positive slope. Letter B. I'm going to do slope equals rise over run. You don't really have to write this each time, but it might help you remember that rise, the y's are in the top. So xy, xy. Subtract my y's. 3 minus negative 1. Divided by 6 minus 6. Those are my x's. 3 minus negative 1 is really 3 plus 1, which is 4. 6 minus 6 is 0. Whoop, can't have 0 in the denominator. Undefined. Letter C, xy, xy. Slope is equal to rise over run. So I'm going to subtract the y's. 4 minus 4. In the denominator, I subtract the x's. Negative 7 minus 5. 4 minus 4 is 0. Negative 7 minus 5 is negative 12. 0 divided by anything is 0. 0 slope. And the last one, xy, xy. Slope is equal to rise over run. Rise, I'm going to subtract my y values, so 5 minus 1. Run, I'm going to subtract my x values, 1 minus 4. Notice, if I do this one first minus this one, I have to do this one first minus this one. You have to go in the same order, just like we did with corresponding sides. 5 minus 1 is 4. 1 minus 4 is negative 3, so I get negative 4/3. I said don't simplify it. Don't turn into a mixed number or a decimal. Just leave it like this as long as it's simplified, and this is a negative slope. Okay? Nicely done, guys.